well, I'm the Tina behind the belly. This is the first, oh, there's Jackie. This is the first YouTube channel that I've ever created. Really the first, Tina's been the first time I've ever posted anything, and kind of like, I think a lot of people, not everyone, but a good handful of us, who are on here to lose weight, I just thought it'd be a good way to hold myself accountable. Just like the Tina versus the scale video, one day I got on the scale, and it actually, unlike the video, where in the video it was 240, when I first stepped on it a week and a half ago, it said 249, and that's the highest weight I've ever been. And honestly, it really, like in the video with Tina, it really took me by surprise. It really shocked me. I felt good. I purposely picked clothes that flatter me, so I thought that I looked good. And I guess every time I looked in the mirror, I just didn't feel like I was that big. I just didn't feel like I was that heavy. I could still go for walks, I could still go for runs, keep up with my nephews and nieces. I just felt like I was doing everything that I had been. I didn't feel like I was slowing down much. And then I guess I knew I was bigger, obviously, but there was like this image distortion, almost like a body dysmorphia, but only instead of it being where I, didn't realize how thin I was getting, it was actually the opposite, where I just wasn't seeing the weight that I was putting on, the weight that I was packing on. And anytime something like my clothes didn't fit, or anything like that, I just packed it, thought of it as something like they shrunk in the dryer, or my body's changing as I'm getting older, or things like that. I felt like I was active. I felt like I was going for walks every day. I wasn't really tracking my steps, but I thought that I was moving enough, and I thought that I was eating well. I mean, I knew that I wasn't perfect, that there was definitely ice cream, and there was sugary cereals, and late night snacking, but I thought overall my portions were fine, and I thought that I was eating healthy and everything, drinking the water, sleeping when I was, the 7 to 8 hours like you're supposed to, and so I felt like I was overall healthy. Full disclosure though, at my last doctor's appointment, they did blood work, and they said, that I am in the morbidly obese range, and that my blood sugars and blood cholesterol were higher, and I really needed to watch those. So that's kind of what got me onto the scale in the first place, saying, well, I definitely want to kind of nip this in the bud. I don't want to have issues as I get older. I'd rather be proactive. But I don't know, I just feel like seeing that number on the scale really kind of woke something up. And at the time, when I first got on the scale, I kind of guess I thought, well, what do I do? Because I do move, I am active, I do exercise, I do eat healthy. What can I do? Is this just how I am? But then kind of like in the videos with the brain, I decided to start really looking at my activity levels and tracking them, and looking at what I eat and tracking it, and seeing what I'm actually doing, because you can't fix a problem if you don't know where it is. And so I got a cheaper on sale fitness tracker off of Amazon, and I got a free food tracker off of just from my phone. It's the chronometer, and that's what I did. I started tracking my food and tracking my my exercise levels, how many steps and everything, just to kind of see what was going on with my body, where I was, because I didn't know, you don't know what you don't know, and I didn't know where I was not doing what I needed to keep my body at a healthier weight. And then, of course, I set these lofty goals, which, it's more of a shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you land in the stars sort of situation. But my goal is to lose 35 to 40 pounds before the end of the year. So we'll see how that goes. But for the first stage, where I was just tracking what I was doing, what I was noticing was that my exercise was not, my movement was not where it should have been. I thought that the lunchtime walks with Jackie, the afternoon after dinner walks with Jackie were paying off and everything, that I was getting the steps that I needed. But I also have a sedentary job, and after a week I realized that that I was only getting, really, this is a week after my doctor's appointment, but I was really only getting anywhere between 4,000 and 5,000 steps, 6,000 if I was really lucky. So that was kind of one thing that I realized that I needed to step up. The other thing was tracking food. Anything that went into my mouth went onto the food tracking app, the Chronometer. And that's when I realized too is that a lot of the foods that I kind of chalked up as being on the healthier side, a frozen pizza, but I add extra vegetables, but it's still a frozen pizza. That's still a whole pizza that's over 1,000 calories. And then I was also taking little nibbles of things. I babysit my nephews, like I said, and one of them, I'd make them macaroni and cheese, and then there's just a little bit left in the pan. It shouldn't make a difference. It's just a few bites. It started to add up with trying to stay in a calorie deficit. It quickly added up. Yogurts that I thought were healthy. It's dairy, it's calcium, it's, well, yes, but it's also got a lot of sugar in it. And I started to realize that what I thought was a portion was actually not the actual portion. What I thought was one portion, one bowl of cereal or ice cream or whatever, it when I actually measured it out would end up being 2 or 3 servings, which then meant 2 or 3 times the calories. So where in my journal before I was marking down that, this bowl of cereal is 250 calories, no, it's actually more like 500, 750 calories. So then I knew where the issues were. I knew where I was falling short. So then I came up with a plan. My daily goal is to reach 10,000 steps. I've been using ChatGPT to create a workout plan, because I also have a fun run, a 5K coming up in November that I do every year. I never train for it. I'm a weekend warrior, and then I'm very, very sore afterwards, and I barely make it through to the end. But I figure it's a 5K, and I made it through, and I should be proud of that, and I am. But this year, I really want to do so much better. So I actually have started training for it, and I use that kind of word lightly, because I'm not out there in the early mornings, jogging my butt off, because it's July and it's 100 degrees. But I have been walking on my walking pad. I've been speed walking on it. I've been doing body strength exercises, workouts, 3 times a week. Now I'm saying that, but it's only been a week. I have the plan of continuing that. But it's the plan of either stretching and warm-ups or full body workouts 3 to 4 times a week. Um, and I'm just trying to stay between 1,200 and 1,600 calories, so I'm in a calorie deficit, and I can lose the weight that I want and need before the end of the year. So, those are kind of the plans. And I also want to get between 7 and 8 hours of sleep and drink 100 to 120 ounces of water daily. And these are just a start, and as I go through the weight loss journey, kind of like I did at the beginning, I'm just keeping track of everything, my weights, my fasting blood sugars, my step counts, things like that, and just to see how it goes. Now I'm at the very beginning stages. As I said, it's been a week and a half, and I was very excited at the 7-day mark because I had dropped about 9 pounds, and now I'm at the point where I'm in the like 240 point whatever, and I just keep thinking that I'm so close to getting into the 239s, and I just can't seem to drop there. So I'm really trying to focus right now on how to fix that, how to get out of the 240s and into the 239s, because I feel so gosh darn close. But I just wanted to start this behind the belly, mostly I guess for me, but just to kind of talk about this week's weight loss, hopefully not weight gain, different wins that I've noticed, different challenges, and maybe ideas for what I'm going to do, going forward. Since I started this journey, I think my biggest wins were, again, getting down the 9 pounds, which is huge. I do think that's probably mostly water weight, but it hasn't spiked back up, which I'm proud of. And in fact, one of the days I did get down into 239.6, which was great seeing a number not on the 240s. So I know it's possible. I know like I said, I'm so close. I did try and stay within calorie goals most days. I didn't always reach that. There were definitely days where I didn't stay within that calorie goal. I definitely went over 1,600. A couple of days by a bit more than that. It was more like 2,200. But overall, though, that's big for me that I didn't. It's like I said, it's been 10 or 11 days now, and I have consistently, at least for 7 of them, stayed in that goal. My sugars, when I first started tracking things, were on the higher end, the pre-diabetic end. I've noticed as I've had more plant-based food, plant-based meals, that those have been trickling down. Also, I don't know if it's that or the increased steps, the increased exercise, but it's been great seeing those numbers going down. They haven't consistently been in the healthy range, at least in the under 100, but they are going down, which I'm happy with. I also hit 10,000 steps. I think it's been 9 out of the 11 days. So that's been great. I have, like I said, a sedentary job, but I also invested in a walking pad off of Amazon. So I just kind of take it easy, nice and slow on there, so I can still work but keep walking. And that's been a huge help getting those steps in, because at first I was kind of at a loss how to find the time. I felt like all I was doing was walking, whereas there's 8 hours where all I'm doing is sitting. The strength training and core workouts I just started, so they've been a lot harder than I thought they were going to be. When I was jotting down kind of a workout schedule, I thought, oh, these will be easy. I'll zip right through these. And no, I didn't realize how much my body has gotten heavier, of course, but also it just I don't I feel like I don't have the strength that I used to, or at least think I should. So, but as difficult as they've been, I've been sticking it out, and I've been getting slowly through these strength trainings. I've also been trying to incorporate 10-minute meditation sessions and just journaling. Those have been sort of extras, they haven't been the full focus. But out of the week and a half, I've gotten in 2 to 3 of those 10-minute meditations. So as I start to get my the physical kind of goals down and have them become habits, I would like to also start to incorporate mental wins too. Also, just like I said, I feel for calories, I have noticed that when I meal prepped the meals, all I had to do was make them all up on Sunday, and then it was just a grab and go situation throughout the week. That was huge. That was a huge win, because then I knew that I was eating the calories that I was supposed to. I knew how many calories I was taking in. I knew that the portions were correct. I didn't have to keep portioning things out. And so those were huge. And, you know, they ranged from portobello mushroom tacos to zoodles with scallops to tofu butter chicken, smoothies. I'm still playing around with the foods that I like, the foods that I won't get tired of, how I want to mix that up. I definitely don't want boring foods, because then I know I'm going to throw in the towel sooner. So this has been kind of a playing game, but I have noticed for me, meal prepping all 3 meals on Sunday, so they're all ready to go during the week, has been a huge game changer, a huge win. And then as far as hydration goes, I have been hitting consistently between 80 and 100 ounces, which is a lot more than I was tracking myself drinking prior to this. So it's not quite where I want to be, but it is an improvement from where I've been. As far as challenges go, I have gotten cravings, or I really want that, like the other day it was a tough day at work, and all I wanted was like a cheat meal, but it was like, no, I've got food in the fridge. And then I got a coupon for Wingstop, and for their wings, and that's all I could dream of. It just couldn't take my mind off it. I had to have those wings, and I kept trying to think of ways to make them healthier, keep them in my calorie budget so I wasn't going over, but at the end of the day, I needed that really satisfying, saucy, breaded wing. I needed it. I knew I wasn't going to let it go. And then it became a meal, and then it became with the soda and everything. And then, of course, after I was done eating it, I was the wings, because I had more than I should have. It was the wings, the sandwich, the french fries, the soda. I felt so lethargic, and all I did was want to take a nap, so then my steps suffered, so that was kind of a spiral down. And I'd like to say that was kind of a one-time thing, but there was also a day out with some friends, and we ended up going to a Chinese buffet, which again was delicious. It's one of those, I think in my head before this challenge I kept saying, well, if it's not good for the body, it's good for the soul, which I guess in moderation is true. It's just I haven't historically kept that in moderation. And then I also had a Panera visit for lunch one day, and again I kept thinking, well, it's a broth soup instead of a cream soup, and it's, I think I ended up getting a panini. I wanted to get the salad. My brain, the brain was saying to get the salad, but I got a panini, which was delicious, but I also had the baguette with it, and the bread bowl, and all those carbs and all those calories. And I think these splurge meals are probably one of the reasons that have contributed to me not getting down into the 230s again. I also had a couple sleep disruption nights where I just, I was up late with friends, or, things like that, or I just couldn't go to sleep, or I lost track of time, where instead of 7 to 8 hours, it was more like 5.5 to 6, which, I guess that would be something I'd want to kind of look at long term. I don't know how that affects short term, but that is something that I want to pay attention to in the future. And then just emotional eating or stress eating. Work gets stressful, or life in general gets stressful, and then that chocolate's calling your name, or that bag of cheesies in the cabinet, or whatever. So I in the future I want to try and replace those. If I'm going to stress eat, I need to figure out something else besides the processed food and the junk food and everything. And I guess there's just been times where I just feel like I'm stuck in the 240s. I'm never going to go down. It is what it is. I am just going to be a bigger girl for the rest of my life. And, those spiraling thoughts, which really I tend to spiral. And I think that I'm going to continue to have those thoughts. And I think that's also, I'll admit, that is a big part of why I have Tina, is because I know how, I've read comments on other videos. I know how how people can be on these sometimes. And I know that if I hear too many people, I guess need to stay in my own lane with the blinders on. And as much as I want the encouragement and the if people watch this, the comments and the support and everything, I was afraid if I really made the videos about showing me and my body, that I would end up quitting soon, and then just throwing in the towel and being, this is what it is, and I'm just going to accept my body how it is and be done with it. And I don't want to do that. I've done that so many times before, where the scale doesn't budge, and I just give up, and I go back to my old habits, and then eventually, a year or two later, I just keep seeing the scale rising, slowly but surely. So I want to do these behind the bellies once a week, like I said, and I just want to keep making these Tina videos. They've been a lot of fun, and they've been sort of a way for me to reflect my struggles, reflect my wins, reflect my inner dialogues, my inner thoughts. I've got the brain who's telling me exactly what I know I need to be doing, but then there's, Tina, my gut, that's saying, no, come on, these things feel so good, they taste so good, they you're fine just the way you are, and kind of sort of rationalizing the two, bringing the two together, is sort of my goal, because I do want to be healthy. I do want to be at a healthy weight. I do want to have a healthy body. I want to, I do want to be able to run these 5Ks, actually run them, and not, half walk, half run them, and be crawling across the finish line. I do want to enjoy how I look in pictures and not hide behind people or crop myself so my stomach's not in it, or things like that. I want to enjoy life, and I've noticed the more I look at things and think about it in my journals and stuff, I don't put myself out there as much, like as far as dating and everything, because I'm self-conscious about my body. I don't wear certain things that I'd like to wear, like because I'm self-conscious. I don't want to stick out because I feel like my body already does really stick out, and there's certain things that I just didn't realize I was doing until I really sat down and thought about it, and suddenly all these pieces clicked together. So again, if you've stayed with me this long in the video and through all my rambling, thank you for watching. I hope you stick around for the rest of this journey. I think regardless of whether people watch this or not, I still feel like it's good for me mentally to get it all out. And again, I just love Tina, the talking tummy, and just that creative outlet, and kind of sort of seeing me in the video as a tummy. So, if anybody has any advice, please leave it in the comments, or any ideas, relatable things that you feel you'd want to see in the next Tina video. Let me know. Again, these are my first videos ever, so also any constructive criticism about the editing and everything, let me know. But thank you, everybody, and this is Tina, over and out. Bye.